We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it. We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go, because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away with it.
This Turning Point conference, were in the front of out there in front of the conference with anti-Semitic slurs, and the cigar.
I think it's important that every single person that attended that Turning Point, every Republican speak up against these against the flags that were waved.
You let them in.
President, open your
You let them in and you knew what they were.
Right.
So you are complicit.
But Whoopi is certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out.
Founder and CEO of Turning Point USA and the author of the new book, The College Scam. So Charlie, do you accept the View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to...
We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse, and we still might. We're talking to top-tier lawyers. This isn't over. You don't get to smear 5,000 students, high schoolers, college kids, with lies on national TV and just walk away like it's another Tuesday on The View. Not this time. Not when the smear came loaded with anti-Semitic implications, with false flags literally waved in their faces and then tied, deliberately, to the very people inside who had nothing to do with it. This was an ambush in broad daylight, and now they're about to find out what it costs. Then Joe Rogan steps in. Because of course he does. The guy who turned podcasting into the Roman Colosseum drops a scorched earth roast on the hosts of The View. And no, it wasn't cute. This wasn't tea and sympathy. Rogan showed up with verbal brass knuckles, laughing while dismantling their logic. He called it what it was, ideological theater built on hot air, and the crowd loved it. When Rogan speaks, people listen, because he says what most won't, and he doesn't flinch when it hits hard.
Now we begin with a shocking apology just a short time ago from the ladies of The View to Turning Point USA. A war of words broke out after the conservative group was rallying the next generation of voters at its youth summit in Tampa, Florida this weekend. And the liberal panel just couldn't help themselves. The group sent a scathing cease and desist letter after hosts on The View suggested that Turning Point had embraced who showed up outside the event.
The View has to be, if you average out The View hosts, among the dumbest people on television. And so it's like they say the thing that people are thinking, but they say it very directly, so they expose whatever truth. But
I don't think some of them are dumb.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think Sunny Hostin's
You think it's deliberate?
dumb. I think she's ideologically driven, and they have blinders on, for sure. I don't think Sunny's dumb. But Whoopi is certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out. It's like if you had an idea for a premise and it was totally baked and half baked and you went on stage with it and it's nothing there.
Just go for it. Yeah,
there's nothing there. Sometimes comics do that.
Charlie Kirk wasn't playing when he filed a lawsuit for $100 million. That's not a headline, that's a cannonball. When you get casually accused on daytime TV and you've got the bank account to fire back, you do. This isn't some spicy segment for ratings. This is legal warfare. Because if you don't draw a line, they'll bulldoze you with narratives, then smile into the next camera like it never happened. But now they've been served. And suddenly, everyone's voice got real quiet. Cue the awkward apology. My bad, one host mutters, like it was just a name mix-up. As if calling thousands of young attendees complicit in hate speech was a casual slip. The words sounded forced, defensive, damage control wrapped in a half-hearted PR move. You could see the fear behind the eyes because they knew this wasn't a slap on the wrist. This was a potential financial knockout.
Do you see what Whoopi Goldberg said?
What'd she say?
Whoopi Goldberg said that Biden could arrest all the Republicans and put them in jail. You just need to see how unhinged this kind of thinking is. Well, you know what Joe Biden could do? Joe Biden, you have to see it because it's so
on TV,
crazy.
She said
on television.
You know, just let's look at a scenario where the Supreme Court says, yes, he has all those rights. He is immune from everything.
Yeah.
You know what Joe Biden could do since he is presently president?
What?
Whoa. He could throw every Republican in jail.
Joe Rogan's roast wasn't just funny, it was laser precise. The View, he said, is the dumbest show on television. He wasn't subtle, and he wasn't wrong. Whether it's shouting down the token conservative or spinning narratives like carnival wheels, Rogan pointed out the glaring hypocrisy. They preach accountability, but dodge it every time. Rogan just held up a mirror, and it wasn't flattering, it was devastating. This isn't just a lawsuit, it's a full-blown culture war battlefront. On one side, a conservative firebrand with deep pockets. On the other, liberal media giants with daytime microphones and no filters. The fallout? A media circus with real-world consequences. Courtrooms replacing green rooms, legal briefs replacing talking points, and every tweet, clip, and apology getting dissected online like it's the Zapruder film. Nothing stays hidden now. Everything is receipts.
Conversation about Turning Point USA. I put the young people at the conference in the same category as the protesters outside. And I don't like it when people make assumptions about me. And it's not any better when I make assumptions about other people, which I did. So my bad. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So
The View has spent years posturing from a moral high horse, calling out racism, sexism, phobias of every flavor. But when someone finally pushes back, they crumble. Legal threats turn bold voices into stammering statements. The same people who attack others for missteps are now caught in a legal bear trap of their own making. And no one's buying the Victim Act. Not after this.
Joe Rogan is the gateway drug for young men that thought they were Democrats to become MAGA. Joe Rogan is the bridge. And on that bridge, they'll see RFK. They'll see Elon Musk.
The culture shift between right and left authoritarianism, and now people don't recognize that if you just stopped looking at it in terms of red and blue, look at the actions, whether it's war, suppression of free speech, pharmacological interventions that are mandatory, right. whatever it is, that used to all be associated with the authoritative right, the authoritarian right, and now those things are being embraced by the left. And I just think it's just an ideology thing, and I think we get confused and we think we're on the right side. We're on the right side. And if it's our side that's saying this, for sure that's the right thing to do. And no one's critically thinking about this.
This lawsuit isn't just about defamation. It's about drawing blood in the arena of public opinion. You don't file for $100 million unless you want to make headlines and make them hurt. Kirk didn't just want an apology. He wanted a reckoning. And Rogan, he turned that reckoning into entertainment. He took the cultural outrage machine and flipped it on its head. One side spun narratives. The other side dropped subpoenas.
I think the problem with that show is that show has this very specific ideological bubble in which they operate in. Mm-hmm. You know, and they always bring on a token conservative woman and they yell over her and silence her. And, you know, they did that with Meghan McCain and they did that with what is that other blonde woman from Survivor? Do you remember her, Jamie? She was always yelling. I mean, it's just, it's a bizarre show.
This isn't going to vanish in a few news cycles, not anymore. Not in 2025, where the internet doesn't forgive, doesn't forget, and definitely doesn't miss a scandal this juicy. The View might have been hoping this would blow over after a half apology and a few days of damage control. But social media has a different plan. Every meme, every sarcastic TikTok, every side-by-side clip showing what was said and what's being denied, it's all out there, looping in real time.
I get it. I also hate Joy Behar. So I don't love you, but I also hate that squawking bird. So I hate the whole thing. And frankly, that show, you want to talk about a show that set women back, is The View. You want to talk about that show. If the CIA is engineering, Antifa and fucking the Capitol riot, some crazy misogynist engineered The View, because there's nothing worse than The View. In terms of there are so many brilliant women out there. None of them are on The View. None of them have gone near the set of The View. I mean, they have brought in the lowest tier of the, what is it, the Y chromosome?
No, double
the
X.
Okay.
Double X.
They brought in the lowest of the double X's for that one.
Apologies don't get tucked away anymore. They get screenshot, dissected, mocked, and turned into digital ammo. The outrage doesn't fade, it compounds. Reddit threads are on fire. YouTube channels are making full-length breakdowns. Twitter is a war zone. And the algorithm, it's in overdrive, feeding the chaos to millions because nothing grabs attention like drama plus hypocrisy plus lawsuits plus Joe Rogan dropping a kill shot. The internet doesn't just document what happened, it turns it into canon, into digital history, into culture, and once it hits that level, it doesn't fade. It echoes.
Her disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men, actually, voting more for him. And you have, and black men was not the story. We're not the story here because they voted almost 80% for the vice president.
Right. Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth.
You can try to walk it back. You can issue clarifications. You can pretend it was all misunderstood. But the clips live on. The receipts are eternal. And for The View, that means the worst case scenario. A permanent reputation hit, one they can't spin away, one that outlives the news cycle. Because when you fumble this badly, and when your critics have more influence than your defenders, you're not controlling the narrative anymore, you're part of someone else's. So while the hosts try to clean things up behind the scenes, the public's already moved on to replays, remixes, and reaction videos. The courtroom is still coming. But online, the verdict's already in.
Did you watch the episode when Tulsi Gabbard got on to defend herself and Joy Behar starts panicking and going over her notes while Tulsi is refuting everything that she said?
Yeah, I mean, Joy Behar, like, again, these people have dementia. These are people who, like, should not be allowed out of the house. They have a national platform. I mean, it is crazy. They have no idea. These people have never read, like, a book.
This story was never just about a bad take on daytime television. It's bigger than that. What you're watching right now is the beginning of a new era in media warfare, and it's ruthless. In a world where outrage is the economy and attention is the currency, lawsuits have become the nuclear option. Not just for justice, not just for vindication, but for domination. This $100 million lawsuit, it's not a publicity stunt. It's not just a headline grab. It's a warning shot to every media outlet that thinks they can smear, spin, and escape. It says if you lie, if you slander, if you use your platform to casually ruin reputations, you might just get hit where it hurts most. The pocketbook, this is no longer about fact-checking. It's about lawyering up. It's about high-stakes accountability, where the scoreboard isn't ratings, it's court wins and financial damage. The View has thrived for decades on a mix of provocative chatter, viral clips, and moral outrage packaged for mainstream consumption. Their formula? Stir controversy, shout over dissent, move on. But now, for once, they can't move on. Because Charlie Kirk didn't just call foul, he dropped a legal grenade into their well-oiled media machine, and it's ticking. The legal system has become the new stage, court filings are the new monologues, and every motion, every discovery request, every deposition becomes part of a public drama more gripping than anything daytime TV has ever aired. This lawsuit is the climax of a culture clash that's been brewing for years, where ideologies don't just compete, they go to war in primetime and in courtrooms. And here's where it gets real. If this case proceeds, we're going to see every behind-the-scenes detail dragged into the light. Internal emails, editorial decisions, executive conversations, all the stuff they hope never leaves the building. Imagine a discovery phase that doesn't just reveal who said what. It shows the entire process of how these narratives are crafted and weaponized. And that's the real threat. Not just the payout, not just the humiliation, but the exposure of how the sausage is made. Meanwhile, Joe Rogan is over here with a microphone and a smirk, turning the whole saga into an epic takedown. He's not just laughing at the hypocrisy, he's dismantling it in real time. Because unlike The View, he doesn't need a network. He doesn't answer to corporate handlers. He's got full control, full freedom, and an audience that's bigger and more loyal than anything traditional media can offer. While the lawsuit plays out in court, Rogan's commentary is playing out everywhere. YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, reshaping the narrative with every clipped quote and viral soundbite. The View, they're playing defense for once, and they're not built for it. Their entire brand was designed for offense. Loud, aggressive, unapologetic. But lawsuits change the game. Lawsuits bring structure, deadlines, evidence, standards, and suddenly you can't just shout your way through the mess. You have to answer under oath. You have to justify your words, not to your audience, but to a judge. And maybe, just maybe, this is the moment where media culture gets a reality check, where hot takes stop being free passes and start becoming financial liabilities, where speaking truth to power means you better have the receipts, because the courtroom doesn't care about your clout or your applause. So what does all this mean for the future of media? It means anyone with a platform has to think twice. It means accountability isn't theoretical anymore. It's procedural, financial, legal. You say the wrong thing, you target the wrong person, and you're not just getting ratioed online, you're getting served. And that's the plot twist. In a world where clout used to protect you, now it might make you a bigger target. The larger your platform, the louder your claims, the harder the fall when someone finally says, enough. The bottom line, we've entered a new chapter where influence doesn't just get challenged with arguments, it gets challenged with affidavits. And in that world, Charlie Kirk and Joe Rogan just proved one thing. The rules have changed, and no one on The View saw it coming. If you think this is the last chapter, think again. Subscribe, hit that bell, and stay locked in. The next move in this cultural chess match could drop any second. And trust me, it'll be wild.